All right. Hey, folks, it's lunchtime here in Seattle. I'm going to do some game development. So we're working on the Bastion Campaign supplement that we'll be publishing on the DMsGuild, where we take the Bastions and we use it as the source of adventure hooks in an episodic style of campaign, where your characters are advancing the goals of your Bastion or solving complications that get created by whatever efforts they are trying to perform. So give me a second here, check my signal. We'll go through our updates here real fast, boost our signal, and then we'll get to work here for a couple hours probably. So let's see, check. Doing a mic check, 1, 2, 3. Let's see if I'm coming through. Yeah, sounds like I'm going through A-OK. Great news. Let me fix that. Cool. All right, I am going to grab the link here, and I'm going to do some quick social media posts. I'll go through a swift intro. One more second here. Bip bop. That's where that's at. That's where that goes. And copy, paste. All right. Well, hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. And I have been focused on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition since I've been making DMsGuild content since 2018. Actually, when I started publishing, I think I actually got started in 2017. And let's see, what am I thinking about? I've been an illustrator since 1999, and I've been a dungeon master since 1987. So there is, I've got a very old school perspective about how AD&D do, and how that's basically evolved over the years into what it's become today. So hold on, something's wonky in my world. Something wonky in my world. I need to drop that out here real quick. Grab this here. Blip, blip. Copy. Puff. Puff. Let's do reply here. And almost done. Stay on target. Reply here. And grab here. I'm having a rough start this morning for reasons. Give me a second. I'm just trying to get this thing fixed. Delete, 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 eep, erp, oop, op. That work? Yeah, that worked. And I can grab this and then go copy image and then drop it into the group. File, reply, blip, and then pick this up, copy, paste. Today we are developing facilities for the Bastion Campaigns supplement. There, and paste. All right, cool. Finally got that out of the way. That was more difficult than it needed to be. I'll blame myself. So let's see, fix our screen here real quick. Bump, bump, bump. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for, hey, new subscribers. Thanks a lot, guys. Like, subscribe, notifications, bell, blah. Here's the full playlist of all of the Bastion campaign development that we've done, as well as the preliminary mechanical build for the In Command of Armies, Guilds, and Kingdoms. We took the In Command of Armies and we converted it into the Spelljammer fleet and squadron system that is linked here in the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration document. It has a free preview. Go ahead and check it out to see how squadrons and fleets work under characters command using 5e, normal 5e combat mechanics at the 500, at like the 50-foot 500-foot and 1-mile scale grid of map for combat. It works really well. I'm looking forward to expanding that with like mecha, kaiju, and giant robots for Spelljammer, like spirit guardians and stuff like that. Mega fauna, mega kaiju, whatever. And then, oh yeah, and then the Guilds and Kingdoms aspect of it has been broken down into what is now the Bastion system. So we developed this we started developing back in 2022. Here is the playtest document that we are currently using for the Bastion campaign. So it is read only. You can look, don't touch, but you are certainly invited to explore that space with us. So I'm going to pluck this out, drop that in here. So yeah, let's, hi. I'm here 10 times per week. If I'm not doing artwork in the morning, I'm building new books that I will eventually put artwork in the morning. So I have an idea. I'd say ideation to publication. We come up with an idea. We start designing it here on stream. We develop it. We carve it. We polish it to the point where it's serviceable. And then we play test it. And then we hire an editor. We fix it. And then we hire an editor to help structure and clean it up. And then once it's done, I do the page layouts and then all the artwork here on stream, and then I publish it. So you see everything except for the editing process. That is my editor's job, not mine. So basically, I do everything from one to done, except for editing the book. That's done by my editor. So whoever it is that I get to hire at the time. I'm hoping to wrangle Adam Hancock for this project, since the original Guild and Kingdom system was inspired by Adam Hancock's Balderon's Kingdom Builder that's on the DMsGuild. This is kind of like a 2024 take of that, using the Bastion system as the center of the campaign. So, and I've talked a lot about that in the past 14 episodes. So I think I want to just focus on getting to work here with the time that we have. So when we were last here, we had gone through all the magic items and non-magical items in the PHB and DMG for us to... Hold on. Yeah, here's artisan tools, what you like, alchemist supplies, and rarity is like the gold piece value of stuff, like permanent magic items. Common items are up to 100 gold, which according to the DMG, if you were like making a 100 gold set of chainmail or something, it would take you 10 days to create that set of chainmail armor, because it would be the gold piece value divided by 10 equals number of days a worker can build that. The way that we, so like if you want a 200,000 gold piece legendary magic item, if you trim off the 0, it takes 20,000 days to make the legendary magic item, which is 60 years, I think. Yeah, that feels right. That's too long, guys. So if you have a legendary magic item, 200,000 gold. If you have a 5th rank Bastion facility that's capable of creating legendary magic items, this is like equivalently like a 17th level, like blacksmith and workshop and arcane study working together to craft this legendary magic item. These are all like high rank, very high level casters, very highly skilled experts in their field. And between your resources at the Bastion, instead of 60 years, you can make that legendary magic item in 1 year. You can pick up the demi-plane facility to manipulate time space so that you can have it done in a season instead. And if you have an artificer character that's working on it specifically yourself, you can take that season and reduce it down to a month. So you can make a legendary magic item with optimal conditions in 1 month. So the best you can do is 1 day. The worst you can do is a year. So there you go. So yeah, that's building magic items. So what we want to do is when we were here last, after we broke down like the monetary rarity value of all the items in the PHB and the DMG, and we looked at like we have materials, which is animals, minerals, and plants, basically the 3 types of stuff that exists in the world. And so when you're making things, is going to be made from one or more of these core materials. So when we're running the campaign, you don't worry about specifically what that is. Like, do you have enough cotton or wool? Do you have enough yarn? Do you have enough paste? Like those are plant, animal, and mineral examples. Because no, paste is made out of glue, horse hooves, so that'd be plant and animal, for example, all the things I just listed there. So if you have so if you have a if you have a facility with a storehouse, and that storehouse is listed as contains animal materials, then if the thing you want to create requires animal materials, as long as the rank of the storehouse is equal to or exceeds the rank of the item you want to build with those materials, it's just assumed that you can get access. You either have that stuff already on hand to build it, or you can just get it in a matter of days, or it's already in a shipment that's on the way. Because retroactive continuity, since we aren't going through every minuscule task that your Bastion is performing, at some point you say, I want to use my Bastion turn now. I want to issue the order to start making that legendary magic item. Well, you're just issuing the order now. It's like, God, I was just listening to this on Roll for Combat. Well done, guys. The quote was, I think it was Steve that said that it was talking about Steve Jobs. I think it was Steve Jobs. It said, overnight success doesn't happen overnight. Like, there's years of work that goes in. He was talking about Kelsey Dion's success in Shadow Dark. That it exploded on the scene, but she had been playtesting at cons for years. So she was really confident with that when she built it, and had very low expectations, but was able to be sincere and passionate about its presentation, and it exploded. It was what people were looking for. But that took years, and you didn't hear about it until the Kickstarter bounced. So that was an overnight success to everyone in the world except for her. And this is the same way. You're now issuing the order to make a legendary magic item, but you've known that this legendary magic item was on your agenda when you could finally get to it. So you've been slowly having your Bastion. Hey, we have that storehouse. By the way, we're going to need an eye of a Neogi to make this thing work. So I don't know how long it's going to take for us to track that down, but put it out there, some feelers, and maybe we'll eventually get it. It's like maybe you've had this Bastion for 16 levels. And now that you're finally able to make legendary magic items, it's like, yeah, we still have that eye. We're good to go. Because you have 5th rank storehouse with all the materials you need to make the 5th rank magic item, the legendary magic item. So that assumes you already have all the content, all the material you need to be able to successfully make that magic item. So you retcon it. You just say, yeah, we picked that up already. Because if you fail your die roll, you create a complication. And then this is what we're actually working on. Mitigating complications and setting die rolls. That's what facilities get to do. They're like feats that allow you to cheat, right? Like the Warcaster feat allows you to use a first level spell, single target spell, as an opportunity attack instead of making an attack roll. And it also gives you advantage on Constitution saving throws when you're attempting to maintain concentration. Like those take the base mechanics, and then that feat breaks those rules and makes it cool for you to want to have that, so you can break that rule. All the facilities, now that we've structured it out, so facilities have a physical function, as in, like, to build a ballista, you could do so with either an armory or a workshop, but a ballista costs 500 gold pieces. So that makes it a 3rd rank item, which means you need to have, it's going to have a DC of 20, common, uncommon, rare, very rare, legendary, 5 ranks. The Dungeon Master's Guide breaks down difficulty classes for any task that you're just winging. If the DM just wants to wing a task, it's basically on a scale of 1 to 5, and the DC is 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So if you're going to make a ballista, you need to have an armory or a workshop with a crew that's competent at making things at 3rd rank, or up to 4,000 golden value because of the cost of magic items. And that means that team needs to be able to realistically hit a DC 20. For you to be able to make that ballista, you have to hit DC 20. If you do, at the end of however long it takes to make that, it's a 500 gold piece value thing. So according to the DMG, it would take 50 days to make it. How long does our system have it taking to make? It's up to 4,000 golden value. It's a rare item. According to our system, you can make that rare item in 1 month. There you go. It's basically half the time. And if you have an artificer that's making it, then you can cut that down to a week. And if you make it in a demi-plane where you can manipulate time space, you can drop it all the way down to a single day. So, hey, I'll be back with that. I'll be back with that siege weapon tomorrow. Hold on. And if you have a teleportation circle at your facility, your artificer can actually say, hey, I'm going to go bounce back home for a long rest in the demi-plane, and I will be back tomorrow morning when the long rest is finished, and I will have the weapon that we need. So you can miraculously, with a high enough rank Bastion, with all the right facilities, you can literally just yeet and then come back with a rare level magic item or a mundane magic item up to 4,000 gold in value. That ramps. I don't think that ramps. It currently does not ramp the DC. Like, it's a DC 20. Like, doing this doesn't make it a DC 25 or a 30. It's, you've invested resources in your Bastion, kind of like feats, to be able to manipulate stuff like that. So that's what we're playing with right now. Yeah, so that's the ballista. That's how, like, as an example, that's what the ballista would do. So scrolling down here, we would go, but if, let's say, you failed the die roll, so now we're looking at complications. So if we scroll past all the stuff that we can do into the facilities, and we figured out size last time, and we broke down what each order of facility would be capable of performing with limitations. And then I think complications are way down here at the end. Complications should technically be inside of the orders area. Settlements, Bastion events, and complications. There you go. So Bastion events are just whenever you have a Bastion turn, you roll a d20, and then you consult the table, and it'll be something going on that you can choose to participate in as an adventure seed, a plot hook for you to continue on, which is pretty much how the DMG operates. But you also have orders that you're issuing, right, to, like, make that legendary magic item, or, like, let's say make that ballista, and you fail the die roll. So it was a DC 20, you only got, say, a 12. So you failed the crafting check to make your ballista. You now have, since you failed your check, you now have a complication. So let's roll a D6. I rolled a 5. So the complication is research based. So for me to resolve the complication involving my ballista, I either have to make that the quest of my characters to get involved and take care of it themselves, which might not be practical, or you relegate the task to your guild to resolve. And if the problem was created by crafting, you can't solve the problem with crafting. You can't solve a problem from within inside of the problem. You have to be able to see outside of the problem. So you would then use one of the other 6. I love that there's 7 orders. That's just so awesome, because if you're going to solve a problem outside of your current order, that gives you a D6 number of orders for you to choose from to flavor the complication. So I rolled a 5, and it's a crafting issue. So in this instance, it would be that you lack the required plans to create the item. Research order, if you issue a research order, you can then create or find the plans. Either find someone who has them or whatever. The plot hook as a character could be to delve ancient ruins for plans or prototypes, or it could be like breaking into a military facility that's developing the kind of siege weapons that you want and take the plans to do that. But if the complication is something that your character, either a character or a facility that you have at your place can resolve, then you get to skip that complication, and it automatically resolves. Adjust my seat again here. So that's how complications work. If you fail the die roll, it creates a potential adventure nugget that if you want to delve into that as a cool adventure, then cool, let's pursue that. And you could have, like, you can eventually have like 6 orders or more if you want to dump points into it to overclock your orders. You can have like up to 11. You can have up to, if you're willing to spend the resources to do so, you can have your 5th rank Bastion banging out 11 orders per Bastion turn. And or simultaneous orders is basically how, because some, like you saw, some orders take like an entire year to do, some only take a week, some a day. So when you load up orders into your Bastion, as they finish, you can then reassign that order to become something new that they start working on. So you have this role that you go through, but generally the minimum the minimum granularity, the plank length of a bastion would technically be 1 day, but generally if you're going to feed adventures into it as an episodic West March style campaign generator, you're going to probably want to have your bastion roll turns every week. That's what I've been doing. I've been playtesting this since February last year, and we're effectively level 7 right now. I say effectively because they're actually using the bastion as the core of their campaign. They can build characters to go on adventures of the appropriate level anytime that they want, but from the perspective of the bastion is first. They have a second ranked bastion that's about halfway through becoming a third ranked bastion. So that puts them like around, because it's 1, 5, 9. Oh yeah, 1, 5, 9, 13, 17 for the 5 ranks. And they have a second ranked bastion now on their way to third. So that would be like somewhere between 5 and 9. They're halfway through, so they're pretty much literally 7th level. So when I create complications that they want to go on a mission for, and there are no missions other than complications in the Bastion, or if they are motivated to do something, but all the adventures that they are conducting are around the idea of we have to advance. The characters are specialists working for the Bastion. In this case, it's a mining guild in orbit around Eberron, extracting crystals and precious metal from the asteroid belt that rings the planet of Eberron. And so they send up low-speed Spelljammer ships in orbit with Warforged who don't have to breathe, and gnomes that are like mecha pilots and engineers, and then the dwarves that are just really good delvers. So from Zalargo and Warhold, they formed an alliance in the Eberron setting to do this asteroid belt operation, so they can harvest resources. And then they adopted the Warforged, because in my campaign setting, the Warforged are actually the recycled souls of Sire Warlocks, whose otherworldly patron was a machination demon that created constructs and creates artificial life, and it fuels that artificial life, in this case the Warforged, with the souls of the Warlocks that it receives when its Warlock dies. So in our campaign, they awoke all of the Warforged to remember who they were, and they killed the god of machines so that the Warforged weren't enslaved to that otherworldly patron anymore. And then they all woke up, and so there's this Warforged nation of displaced Sire citizens that no longer have land, because it's Mournland now. Yeah, they could go and live in there, but there's not much prosperity in there. So in this campaign, with the Spelljammer being a part of my campaigns, as the gnomes and the dwarves united to start mining the asteroids, like, we're missing something here. And that's when the Warforged, the Sire Warforged, awoke, and they're like, oh yeah, we want you guys on our team. Like, the Largo gnomes are now working with Sire, with the dwarves in space. That is ridiculous power. So that's the guild that the team is a part of, and they're making decisions on behalf of that nation. So that united nation front, the Zalargo, the Moorhold, and the Awakened Warforged, that's who runs the asteroid guild that they control. So whenever the players run an adventure, like we just finished a dungeon delve where they found an ancient temple on an asteroid, and the common procedures for the miners is, if we find weirdness, monsters, underdark passages, like, because Kyber in Eberron is like a demonic underdark space that's like actively trying to kill you. And in this campaign, Kyber exists inside the asteroids as well as the interior of Eberron itself. So when you start cracking open an asteroid to take the platinum out of it, there's a chance that, like, tentacle monsters could come out and start slaughtering your team. So one of the things that they need to do, they have a research team that they're oracles. So they have like this room of crystal balls that they are just constantly scanning space, looking for threats and identifying rocks that are worth mining, and then they send a mining team out after it. Sometimes the scryers can see that there's a threat there, and they know before they go there, it's like there's gold on that rock, but there's also some weird tentacle monsters there. We can't send it'd be a great resource to grab before someone else does, but we have to take care of the tentacle monsters. So the players activate a 7th level dungeon delving team that specializes in fighting monsters with axes and you know, wand cannons. And then they delve into the dungeon, clear out the nest, and now it's open for them to go and mine the gold without their miners getting killed. They could decide to skip that, and then they have basically a military force that they send in as a passive die roll, and it just becomes an ability check. If they succeed the ability check, then the mercenaries, your kill squad, was able to go in and clear out the dungeon, and now they're just mining the ore as usual, because your players had something they wanted to do that was more important. Like they had a diplomacy mission, one episode of negotiating with the nation of Droam that had started occupying nearby space and mining as well. They have a ton of gargoyles. The Medusa are stone-based things. There's a lot of elemental creatures like trolls. Droam is a great asteroid mining operation because, like, the trolls can, if they get killed, they'll spawn more trolls. The gargoyles are elemental, and they don't have to breathe or eat or sleep or drink anything, so they would literally just send out hundreds of gargoyles just to drift in their orbit. And anything that came near, they would either attack it or break it down and mine it. And the gargoyles, this thing was that the gargoyles had been left in orbit for 2 years, completely ignored, no downtime, and no communication with anyone outside their own clique. So they defected. They saw that the team was, the characters were expanding their asteroid territory to get dangerously close to Droam space because no one else wanted it. They're like, yeah, let's take it. It's cheap. It's easy. If there's a problem, we'll figure it out. The first problem they ran into is the gargoyles noticed them, and they took time to float their way over into Zalargo space and defected. So Droam's like, what the fuck? We just lost our defense force and our casual miners to gnomes. And the gargoyles are like, we because there was a previous conflict where elves were muscling in on their territory, and they stood up to them with a small brigand, with a small squadron of fighter craft that was way outclassed. But they bluffed the hell out of the elves, convinced them that there was a larger warship that was coming into orbit, into range, that if it got there and they were still here, it could be an act of war. That was enough to get the elves to shake off, and people heard about that. It got around. And somehow these gargoyles found out about that. And so apparently they had been looking for a way to get out of Droam, and when that came on the radar, like, these people are willing to do impossible things to stand up for their own territory and their people. That's the kind of team that we want to play on. So the gargoyles defected, and then Droam started approaching them through their embassies. It's like, hey, we think there's some weirdness going on in space with you. So the team did a diplomacy mission where we made, you can check one of the streams that I had up there called Diplomacy Dungeons, where you basically plot the different paths of diplomacy to be able to get your end goal agreement that you want. And there's traps, hazards, and hostile participants on the opposing Union team that is attempting to shut down your ability to move through the dungeonscape verbally to get to the treasure, which is your objective. So if you can overcome their traps, which are like we can't trust you because you had this border dispute with us 6 years ago and we haven't recovered from that yet, and that, like, that's a lie. But if you try to claim it's a lie, you're going to activate something like with another guild that you have a war with, and they're going to be like, you're throwing names at us now, we're going to fight you. And the Droam embassy knows this, so they lay that as a trap for your diplomats to stumble into saying something stupid that's going to cause your whole guild damage in the future, so you can shut your guild down. That was the stakes that they were playing with when they were having these negotiations. And during the course of that negotiation, they realized that one of the diplomats that they were dealing with was actually an informant that was a gargoyle sympathizer that was actually trying to use this to get secret messages to the team during the diplomacy mission that, hey, these guys want to defect and help you, and I want to help cover your tracks. But he couldn't say it outright. So they had to thieves' cant to understand what was going on while trying to deceive the other negotiators that were at the table with this guy. It was a lot of fun. We spent 3 sessions on it, and at the end of it, they secured the gargoyles as their allies, and now they're going into hostile territories to mine dangerous rocks. and so the dwarves and the gnomes don't have to. So it was a really cool campaign, but now Droam fucking hates them. So there's all sorts of conflicts that are happening with Droam. I'm gonna spend time on this on Saturday. You can, if anyone that's it's fun. So if anyone that's interested in like how that works, and you can see example of the playtesting that we're doing with this. If you want to see that, I'll be doing that this Saturday morning because I need to do game prep for the next adventure. So I have to finish our Bastion turn to see what complications arise. So today, back on point, but I mean that's what you can do with this system. So every time they would that scry check ended up failing. So they're like, it doesn't look like there's a problem, but when they got there, there was tentacle monsters. So it shut down the mining operation, and it required the characters to go in and get the miners and secure the facility, which they just finished doing. So now that they finished doing that, they can now start to mine the gold from the place. And so that and like 6 other asteroid locations that they're currently mining right now, I update all of those. So they're operating at a pretty high level of complexity right now, and it's generating multiple points of contact where they had I think 3 failures, which means there's 3 complications, which means I get to create adventure nuggets for 3 different scenarios that they'll have to choose one of those to be their thing, or they're going to have to relegate all of them to their Bastion to either succeed in a single die roll or increase the scale of complications. So like you fail to make that magic item. It was a research problem. If you had an artificer on hand that had the plans specifically needed to make the siege weapon that you wanted, you could ignore this research result. Or if you had some sort of a facility that can provide plans for you for free, then you would automatically succeed this task. Because you had the foresight of investing resources into a facility that's capable of basically nullifying this problem. It's kind of like how everyone hates that rangers make wilderness survival trivial. It's because that class was specifically built that way to make overland travel trivial. You would basically if you take what's a good example? Like the storehouse, for example. If we had rolled a trade problem, it would be that you don't have the materials you actually need to be able to make this thing. So if I had a storehouse, one of the facilities that we have already built, if I had a storehouse of equal or higher rank than the task that we were attempting to perform, then I could ignore this complication because I invested points into making that not a complication in the future. I'm specializing in construction and magic item creation for my characters. So I'm putting all of my Bastion points into facilities that mitigate or eliminate complications from the process of crafting magic items. So that's what we're doing. We are, I hadn't expressed it that way before, but God willing, I'll listen to the replay to make sure I heard that correctly. But that was the proper way of saying that. So we have complications for every task. We went through that, and then you just have random Bastion turns. You have one of those per turn to consider. Technically, you do this every time you make a lifestyle check. So if you've sustained a lifestyle for yourself, and you don't have to worry about checking again in 3 months, then this Bastion events doesn't crop up often unless maybe. Well, I want to find more reasons to use it. But currently, right now, you only roll it when you're doing a lifestyle check. But I want to add more to it. But that's not today's task. We'll get to that. That will naturally evolve. Let's see. Okay, creating tracking strategy sheets, facilities and orders. These are all the orders that are associated with each facility. All these facilities are. Wait, no, that's not the right one. Let's go up here. Oh, that's worth mentioning. If you catch the last episode, we created the size of facilities. Like if your facility, your facility has to be at least this big to do the thing. But if the size of your facility is larger than what your rank can normally maintain easily, then you have disadvantage on your maintain lifestyle roll and potentially have a worse lifestyle than you should. But if you invest points to have a settlement, not just a bastion, but an actual settlement land that you put buildings on. Normally this is for harvesting, like a mine and a refinery for like precious metal or ore of some sort, pastures and a slaughterhouse, for example, or a shearing house for for lambs to get their wool or to make meat for rations. And then there's like forests and orchards, which you would have as a settlement, or fields and fields, right, for grain and stuff, to make food stuff or to harvest cotton from, or however it is that you're doing, because you have the three materials of animals, plants, and minerals. Those are the three types of materials that exist. So if you have a settlement, you can produce those materials yourself instead of relying on trade to find someone. Settlement is you make the stuff yourself on site. Trading is you find someone who has a settlement and you work out a deal to take their resources and then give them gold in return, basically. So you create this like very easy, low fidelity economy system that you don't have to address until you have to ask the question, can I do this? And then it's a die roll. It's kind of like in D20 Modern back in like 2000. I want to say it was like 2005 that they came out with D20 Modern. They didn't have gold in a modern setting, so instead they made a skill check to see if your bank account can afford the thing that you want to buy right now, and it would be an ability check, basically. It's like a skill check. And if you failed the die roll, it would drop your die roll for a while, so you wouldn't be able to afford stuff. No, if you failed the die roll, you couldn't afford it, but nothing changed. It's just you can't have that item. If you succeed the die roll, you get the thing, but then it drops your bonus. So you can't hit that level of success again as easily until time passes and the number came back up again. This is basically that same mechanic of, do I have the resources or the materials necessary to build this thing or make this agreement or craft this magic item? And I make my die roll, and if the answer is, if I hit the number, the answer is yeah, go ahead and build it, and however much time it takes, you're done. If you fail the die roll, something went wrong, and that's where we get into complications. So, hey, what's up? Francois. Hey, what's up? Hot spring, bath, house, pond, spa. Best use of bastions. Nice. Yeah. So if you wanted to build a hot springs resort, then you would want to have a small settlement. We were talking about the size of structures on bastions and how big or small they need to be able to accomplish different tasks. But if you invest resources, bastion points, into settlements as a meta facility, it expands the size of your territory. So a minimal first rank hamlet would have at most a population of 100, where like a first rank bastion would have at most 10 hirelings. So basically this expands, it greatly expands the number of people that can be in your settlement acting as a bastion over a larger stretch of land. And that larger stretch of land is far more significant. So 2 miles minimum for you to be able to maintain a settlement the size of a hamlet. Then you get up to Waterdeep, which has over 100,000 citizens, and it literally has a 100-mile, like you can look in the Forgotten Realms Wikipedia. It flat out states that there are satellite communities, like villages and hamlets in the outskirt range of Waterdeep that goes all the way out to 100 miles away. They're feeding material, animal, plant, and mineral resource materials into Waterdeep so that resource hub can operate smoothly. And that is an exact representation. That is literally what we are building here with these ability check mechanics. And I've been using them for almost a year now. They work really, really well. So I'm excited about what the Bastion system looks like, because it fits that method of play. We've been developing this method of play since 2022, and I've been playtesting it for over a year. And then the Bastion system came out. It's like everything in the Bastion system we can use with the command system that we had built. We just have to reflavor it a little bit. So we're going through that reflavoring process right now. It's also a lot. This is also actually a lot simpler. It was about Rollmaster level of difficulty, like of complication, or like a GURPS level of complication in the original system that we had built. And the 5e game system is meant to be very simple plug and play. So we're having a great time reducing and distilling all that stuff down into just very simple die rolls that don't require charts and tables and stuff. So yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love Dominion. I've been playing since I've been running games since 1987. So I grew up with the idea that characters would take control of property, build an army to protect it, and then expand their territory until they bump into another kingdom, and then decide what to do from there. Dungeon delving along the way. So, and I'll be doing my campaign update on Saturday if you're interested, so you can catch that out in the morning. Let's see. So yeah. So that's settlements. So when we were here last session, we went through the 29 different facilities that exist inside the DMG, and we broke down. And again, if you want to tag along, here's the playtest document. Here, it's read only for you, so you can look, don't touch. But you're welcome. And if you want to jump into my Discord community and sharpen your knives with me, you're most welcome to do so. We will be playtesting this. I'll be doing I'm playtesting this at my home table right now, but I will also be introducing this into future playtest campaigns, probably in June. I'll start running campaigns like this out of my Discord. So if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, you're welcome to participate. Facilities and creation orders. So let's see. That would actually be facilities and orders. There's 7 types of orders in the Bastion system, which we just talked about. And so each facility that you construct is devoted to a number of different orders. So, and then the way that we built the system is here at the top. The rank of your facility sets the number of resources that you can have dedicated to a specific order. And so if you have one, like each facility that you acquire gives you one rank in executing the order that's been given to you. And so if you have no resources, it's just going to be a D20 plus your rank. So if you have a second rank facility and you have absolutely nothing invested in research and you want to try to research something, you're going to dedicate one of your 3 orders to that task, and you're going to roll a D20 and add 2. And if you hit the DC, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 on a scale of 1 to 5 from the DMG, if you hit that number, then congratulations, you got the information that you're looking for. If you fail the check, you dive back into the complications table and something came up, like maybe your spies got kidnapped. You got to go rescue them, something like that. It's an adventure hook seed. But if you're a second rank facility and let's say you have a point spent on a spy network in town, and you have, like, say, a pub that you can use for rumor milling as like a sidearm to the spy as the spy network. You now have 2 points of a facility. You have 2 facilities that are invested in research. So when you make your research roll, you could roll a D6, but you're only second rank. So if you had more facilities that were in research, because you're only second rank, it would cap at a D6. But you would already have the facility on hand for when you hit third rank. You could then roll a D8 instead. If my second rank Bastion only had a spy network, even though they have the potential of rolling a D6, you haven't invested the resources into your Bastion to capitalize on your full capabilities. Maybe you're investing in trading, or maybe recruiting hirelings and stuff instead. So you only have 1 point in research. That means you would add a D4 to your D20 plus 2. Very simple system. This is the proficiency die variant rule that's in the Dungeon Master's Guide 2014. It's also coincidentally the same mechanic that we use for siege combat in the Spelljammer combat and exploration system, and it's the core of the fleet and squadron combat system that we have in the Spelljammer book as well. And that's free preview, so y'all are welcome to check that out to see how those dice work in the game. And it's just proficiency die. The entire Essence 20 by Renegade Games, My Little Pony, G.I. Joe, Power Rangers, Transformers, those IP role-playing games, they all use, they deep dive into modifying, but essentially it's just a proficiency die game system. And they just apply proficiency dice to everything you try to do to scale your successes. They have a lot of fun things you can tweak with it, but that's essentially what it is. I love proficiency dice. They do everything. So that's the basic mechanics of how you would make a die roll, the failures that are involved. So what we're doing, again, what we're trying to get to here, now that I've got enough background in, we're looking at, we had already assessed how many different orders are served by the different facilities that we have. And now I was looking at potentially trimming / modifying what was in there to see if we can balance stuff. There's more craft and empower role facilities than anything else. But when we're going into crafting stuff, we were talking about that earlier here. If you want to craft something, here's everything from the player's handbook and the DMG that you can purchase or make. And you can see that it has all the facilities that are broken down. So like you can see shitloads of workshop. If you want to build gear, adventuring gear, you need a workshop. You just need one because it's used for everything. If you want to make weapons and armor, you're going to want to have an armory. Let's go up to, armor. It's armory, but you can also make a lot of the metal stuff. If it requires minerals, you can make it with a smithy, for instance. So that's how that stuff works. So there's more facilities dedicated to empowering. Where'd I go? Gimme. This document is horribly organized. It's such an alpha draft. So if you decide to delve in here, good luck. This is why I pay for an editor to help me organize my thoughts more cleanly. There's all the stuff. Scrolling down. There we go. Thank you. So because like potions, rings, staves, as opposed to like armor, weapons, but then you also have like relics and arcana and implements. Those are different ways to classify magic items from say potions, rings, and scrolls. So you have all these facilities that can either do potions, or you have another facility that can do implements. So you decide which of these facilities matches what you want to do and what can you just naturally do with them. So if your facility aligns with the things that you want to make, you can make the thing no problem. If you can't, then it gets more difficult. If you don't have the proper facility, generally you can't make that thing. If you can BS your way into doing it and the deal will let you, it's like, well, I want to make this thing, but like I don't have a greenhouse, but I do have a lab. Can I use that? It's like, well, lab's not listed for that thing that you want to make. So yes, you can, because it has the right type of order. It's just not specifically built to do that. So you can roll with disadvantage. So that's how that would work out. It might be more productive for you to either go find it, or to trade for it and build a new trade network for you to get access to the things that you need. But if you really want to be completely self-reliant, you need a whole bunch of different types of shops and facilities, as well as operations to get to the materials that you need to be able to be completely self-sufficient. So, hey, what's up? Acquisitions, Act Inc. Yeah. Act Inc. is cool. Yeah. They have the franchises in there, and they go a little bit deeper into downtime activities that you can frame through the franchise that you have of Act Inc. And so that's a very basic framework that's kind of parallel to this Bastion system they created, but they didn't attempt to make any bridges to connect them, which I think is a real shame. They don't self-reference their material enough, I think. That's why we're building this thing, because I love the exploration pillar of making ability checks, and I love procedurally generated campaigns where I don't have a goal. I just have events that happen to you, and as your team responds to those events, shit just naturally escalates along with your level of power. So you start dealing with bigger and bigger problems that affect more and more of the world around you. There until at 20th level you're changing the fabric of reality. So that's the kind of game I like to play, and this type of a campaign supplement leans into that idea of you don't need to know what your campaign is, just start. Just you have your first point of resources. How do you want to spend them? At level one resource. I don't know what you are. Maybe you're a little shoe shop in Waterdeep someplace, and by the time you're at the end of the campaign, you're fighting gods over footwear. Who knows, or whatever it is. Maybe your shoe shop becomes like a magic shoe shop, and then you like really get into like there's some sort of demonic plot to force people to dance themselves to death, and that's where Otto's irresistible dance came from. Is actually a curse provided by the gods. Maybe there's a master plot to make all the dancers in the world die, and only your footwear can save them from their fate. Who knows? Whatever. That sounds like a My Little Pony episode, but it could be a My Little Pony episode. So now that we have all the different facilities set up, we know what all the items are to be able to make all the different facilities. I'm in the wrong page. Let's go back down here. I want to look at trimming down my options. So I'm pretty good with empowerment where it's at. The thing is that the DMG has a bunch of stuff in here. There we go. Nope, that wasn't the right button. Let's go back. There we go. And let's go to the top of the list. There you go. So it has a bunch of stuff that's already assigned as one order per facility is how they do it. And so like for example, the observatory is on my radar. So the observatory is listed as associated with the empower order. I don't want to contradict what's in the DMG. I want you to be able to say, I want to do the things that they say I can do in the DMG. And your book says I can't do that now, so I don't like your book. I want my book to say everything you can do here in the DMG, you can do, but you can do all this other stuff on top of it. So I need to take a look at the observatory and see, because research makes sense, because you can like read the stars and like for omens or whatever to help guide the research that you're performing. But then they have these Eldritch Discoveries, which is like you get these charms and boons, which I'm fine with leaving in place. But yeah, it doesn't really discuss. I love that the observatory, it's like Topola's tower. You can look in other wild space systems and you can look into the astral plane with it. I fucking love that. What does it say? You can use your observatory to peer into far corners of wild space and the astral plane. I love that. After spending a long rest in your observatory, you gain a magical charm that lasts 7 days or until you use it. The charm allows you to cast Contact Other Plane without expending a spell slot. You can't gain this charm. So basically, this allows you to peer into these other spaces to learn a piece of information about it. They're not specifically calling that out as a task or like as an order. It's just a thing that happens. So we redefine that as a research that an observatory can perform research this way. And if your players are like, yeah, we like what this thing does in the DMG, it's like, great. If that's how you're spending your order this week for your observatory, then yeah, you get your Contact Other Plane thing. You can tap it anytime that you want it. Or if you want to, and that would be research. If you instead wanted to tap an order to have this empowered to gain whatever this mystical charm is that lasts a week, a dark vision, charm of heroism, yeah, that's great. If you want to use those things, go ahead. You get that. So there's nothing in here that says you can't do that. It's just you can do so much more with what we're offering for it to do. So I'm looking at how did we have the observatory set up. So let's go find it on the list. It's listed as research and empower. Research is the thinnest, tied with harvesting. It has the least 6. See, I was saying you have to have 6. You have to have 5 facilities to be able to have a 5th rank D12 die to add, but everything has at least 6 things that you can do. So right now I added everything that I added as many absurd things as I could, and now I'm going through the process of trimming them out so it makes sense instead. Big fan of 3. Oh my god, I love the fucking leaders and the Strongholders Builders Handbook. Oh, I love that stuff. Yeah, so fun. Game on traditionally downtime. Yeah. Downtime activities based on traditionally downtime activities and generating cash for the business or crafting. Exactly. And this game is like, if you have a complication in those efforts, that becomes your next seed for your next adventure. You're trying to work out this trade deal so you can have a constant supply of poison coming into your facility because you have an assassin on your team. Fuck, something went wrong. Well, let's roll on the table to see what went wrong. Do you want to perform that as your next adventure? Yes, I do. Well, when you succeed at that adventure, aside from all the loot that you're going to get from the adventure, you now have established that pipeline to be able to make sure you have poison coming into your Bastion facility consistently so that anytime you need to restock, all you got to do is bounce back to your facility and it'll have it there for you. And then you can go back to whatever you were doing. Like that's That's the idea. So yeah, progressively generating the campaign by creating conflict and complications around the tasks that you've decided that you want to achieve. Start with just a random task. Like, I need to make enough income this month for our shoe shop to stay open. Make your maintain lifestyle check. Crap. That's a horrible roll. Okay, well, we need to generate some loot, so let's go to the wanted board and do some quests and find the most expensive thing, like the highest paying thing we can find. That's going to be our quest. And now you're off to the races, and your campaign can spool out to level 20. Yeah. Right on, man. Yeah, jump into Discord and hang out. We're currently playtesting a mega dungeon for Martial Powers, an alternate magic system. But yeah, I'll be playtesting some of the fleet battle stuff for Spelljammer in the next coming months, and then I'll be building a campaign around this. And if you're interested, you're welcome to participate. Anyone that participates in my campaign, in my playtesting, gets a free copy of the book and credits in the book for participating, assuming you show up. So let's see. So yeah, like observation, that made perfect sense. That was the iffiest one I had, and I actually kind of like how it sits. So we're currently looking at, do we need, I think 6 is a good minimum number. So let's go through and let's find the things that say maintain, and let's put a flag next to the ones that feel iffy. If all of them feel solid, then we have 7 solid contenders for you to be able to put a point into for you to have that added level of maintenance. So we're just going to be picky. The War Room, maintain. I bet that one right there is just going to be our ugliest pick. Theater. So maintaining. Actually, I'm going to take that back. So the way that we've defined the maintain skill is maintaining your lifestyle, and you have to have at least a poor lifestyle, otherwise people quit and you lose your bastion. So if you can't maintain a poor lifestyle is a DC 10, so it's 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 is the 5, like on a scale of 1 to 5. That's how difficult your task is according to the DMG. And so that's on a scale of 1 to 5, right? So so on a scale of 1 to 5, you have poor, modest, comfortable, wealthy, and aristocratic. So to have an aristocratic lifestyle for your bastion, you have to hit a DC 30 maintain lifestyle die roll. And if you do, you can spend bastion points to sustain that lifestyle for whatever length of time your bastion is capable of. Each rank of bastion can sustain a lifestyle for a different period of time. So you can make a die roll if you want to burn an order on it to see if you can upgrade your standard of living. But once you hit a standard of living, you can just lock it by investing a couple of your bastion points into keeping that, like a 5th rank bastion can sustain a lifestyle for an entire year. So if on the first week, on your first order, you hit that aristocratic lifestyle for your guild, just lock it in. It'll take you 5 points to lock in that lifestyle, but a 5th rank bastion has no cap on how many resources can be poured into it. And you can gain resources in adventures, because a resource at a 5th rank is worth about 100,000 gold a piece. If you can auction off that large of a slab of a 5th rank bastion to give to other organizations, its full retail value would be 100,000 gold. You have to make a bastion roll to see what percent of that you get. So if you roll a DC 30, you get 100% value. Anything less than that, it's a die roll of 10. You only get like 5%. So you have that range of percentile value. But then, assumingly, you would just roll it over and convert it back into resources. So like gold becomes resources. Resources become gold, but once you set up your facility, you don't need gold anymore. At low levels, you can dump all your gold to ramp your bastion as fast as possible, because once you get into 3rd rank, each point of resources is 10,000 gold. So you're starting to hit the upper limits of how much gold or wealth you can expect to extract from an adventure that your characters go on. So instead of trading in gold at that point, you start trading in resources, and the scale of your adventure starts interacting with other bastions or settlements. We will help you, but our extraction cost is going to be 1 resource. So they give you a resource. If you're a 4th rank or a 3rd rank or a 2nd rank or a 5th rank bastion, it does not matter. If what you get is a resource, it just gets plugged into your bastion. If you want to sell it for raw gold, you'll get as much gold equal to whatever your bastion is worth. So that's how that works. Hey, we're doing great. I got a 20-minute timer going, and we're doing pretty good today. So maintain for theater. So the maintain actually does the lifestyle. It's also defense, like maintaining security for your bastion. So there's maintaining the lifestyle and there's maintaining security. They're kind of tied together. You can't have a good lifestyle if you have poor defenses or poor security. So those are basically the two core things that the maintain order can do for you. So War Room actually makes a ton of sense because that's going to be your command center for you to dictate like how you're going to do trade routes, or like how you're going to do like your patrol routes and where you're going to set traps and where you need your observation points. That's what a War Room could do for you. A theater, however, it's a money-making operation. So like you make money with a theater. So you could maintain a lifestyle with that. But I don't think I don't think it's as core of a need, but it's a decent excuse. So let's see if there's something that's shittier. Like if these are our baseline for like what's a decent excuse for a facility to be to advance an order, or to I don't know the words yet. We're still making up the language for what the verbs and the adjectives and the nouns are for these different things. But I'm looking for another maintain thing that's crappier than the excuses I just gave for the theater and the War Room. So, but I'm going to leave the asterisk here on the theater because so far that's probably the worst example. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Meditation chamber. Oh, yeah. I don't think a meditation chamber probably has a goddamn thing to do with maintaining. But to that sense, I don't think a library really does either. I think that's really stretching. My problem is that I don't want a facility to only have one order. So I was kind of stretching, like what else could a library be if it's not research? Maybe maintain makes sense. It really doesn't. A garden, for example, makes a ton of sense for maintain because you can grow food that improves the quality of life for the people that are feeding from your garden. It's a druid attended garden. It's amazing. You feel like God when you eat this food. Barracks, you've got a place for your troops to sleep. They have a safe place to live. That's directly maintained. And that's it. So the weakest thing on the block here is the meditation chamber. So if we were to nip maintain from the meditation chamber, it would still have two things. It would have two orders that it improves if you have it. But we don't have to worry about it being in maintain anymore. So that drops maintain down to the 6. I'm still iffy on library. Yeah. Demiplane is one of them. That's you have to have a fifth. You have to have a 5th ranked bastion to access a demiplane, and what it does is it reduces crafting time by 1 degree. Crafting time is done at the high end at a year, season, month, week, or a day. The 5 degrees, again. If you have a demiplane, you can reduce the time frame by 1 degree. So if it would normally take you a year to make something, if you build it in the demiplane, time space moves differently. So you get it done in a season instead. A season becomes a month becomes a week becomes a day, and you can't get better than that. Although you could theoretically, if your character's doing it directly themselves, you could do better than 1 item per day. It could then be 1 item per 8 hours, but your character has to be involved. Shipwright would require maintenance of a dry dock. Exactly, but that falls. I think that falls into the guild hall, where if you have a crafting facility, we don't have a crafting facility specifically. Yeah, I like. You could technically say a workshop, because workshop is like so many fucking different things. A workshop is literally like the way that DMG describes it is pick 2 artisan tools like stonemason tools and carpenter tools. Your workshop can now make anything that requires stonemasonry or carpentry, which in a lot of instances is going to be a ship. So a shipwright would be a type of workshop. So if you wanted to have a shipwright, you would define your workshop. But the thing is that you have to have a workshop for each type of thing that you want to do. So you can have deeper and deep, like you can spend a ton of resources just on workshops. You don't need crafting for anything. Well, I mean, you can't make potions with a workshop. You have to have a laboratory or a greenhouse to do that, or a pub. So, so a workshop can only make certain things. We have that all listed out here in the document already. A workshop can only make certain things. So if you want to make all these different types of things, you can have a workshop and you can pick, and basically we disintegrate it. So it's like, you can just pick at these different things, but then you decide what the flavor is. Making an airship is a 40,000, like a hammerhead ship in Spelljammer 5e. I think that's a 40. Now I'm curious. Hold on. Let's go to Spelljammer real quick, just because I'm curious. And let's go to ships, and let's go grab a hammer ship. I think it has this gold value listed here. Cost 40,000 gold. So to have a 250-foot ship in space, technically it's without the spelljamming helm, but there's only 5,000 gold. It's not that difficult to make. But it's a $40,000 endeavor, which means that for 40,000 gold, that's going to, let's go up here to their table. For you to be able to make something that's 40,000 gold in value, that puts it at the very rare level of rarity. It's a permanent item worth 40,000 gold. Very coincidentally priced, don't you think? The biggest spelljammer ship happens to be the maximum value of a very rare magic item. Well, to be able to create a very rare magic item, you have to be 4th rank. So you could just dump four Bastion points into different types of workshops, and as long as one of those points you're saying it's a shipyard, I can make spelljammer ships. I've set myself up for that. Great. The DM should technically not give a shit beyond that. It's like, you satisfied the needs. There you go. Build a ship. You satisfied the needs. Got to make rope. Yeah. All that's or you can trade and have that material provided to you as a trade check. So you can have some of it made with crafting and some of it made with trade. Like if you could make the ship, but you don't have the skill to make, like you don't have enough empowerment to make the helm. You could make the ship and then you could perform trade since a spelljamming helm is 5,000 gold. Fuck, that still puts you at the level of very rare. So you would have to have a 4th rank guild, or rather, you don't have to have a 4th rank guild to trade for that magic item. You have to be 4th rank to build something like that because skills. But to find the item and trade for it, you just have to hit a DC 25 on your check. You could be a 1st rank Bastion, rolling a D20 +1 +1d4, and you could theoretically at 1st level get access to a helm. And now you have a 1st level team that's off in space doing spelljammer stuff. Because you were able to mutt your way into getting the spelljamming helm. So so that's how that works. You don't have to do everything. You can trade for it, or you could specifically go on adventures so that your reward for that adventure is the thing that I want. So that's how that works. But the whole of my spelljammer is an animated kraken carcass. That's good. That would be an animal harvesting thing. So you would probably want to go into a greenhouse or a laboratory to help cure the hide of your kraken carcass so that it doesn't stink, and that if it somehow becomes animated, maybe you want to put some empowerment levels into it so that it remains your ally. Actually, if you check out that Spelljammer book I have down below and you check out the spellcasting chapter, there's a small little blurb that I'm going to turn into an entire supplement about awakening your ships so that they become sidekicks. So I'm going to have a spaceship sidekick book eventually, and just give me time, I'll get it built. But yeah, almost like I'm not going to say literally. I'm going to say almost anything you can throw at me at this point about I want to build this thing. I can probably explain to you pretty quickly how you what rank you would need, what resources you need, and what die roll you would need to make that thing happen. And as you get more and more familiar with the document, those things just become intuitive. You can just eyeball it, and you're just like, yeah, that's probably going to be a bloody blah. And then it just becomes a die roll, and you pass it, then great. Your carcass is great. Your kraken is ready to go. If you fail the die roll, something went wrong. Maybe it was an empowerment action, and fuck, my kraken woke up, and now I have to fight I can't kill my kraken. I have to subdue the kraken, so it still remains a seaworthy vessel for me, but I got to get it to a place where it's not fighting me anymore, right? So that becomes your adventure seed for the week. Episodic adventures. Let's see. Right, so we were parsing through to see if the facilities that we have here, if they're properly spaced. So we got rid of one of the maintains. I still the minimum has to be 5. So I can hear myself too much. It's pissing me off. Hold on. So I can hear myself too much. Drop that down. I love it when people ask me questions and stuff because and we're at 1 hour. Cool. So I've still got about 20 minutes or so. 30 minutes actually. I love questions. It's great that you are. It slows down the production, but it helps cement and solidify. As I go through these explanations and as I reiterate the stuff from session to session, I find logic holes. Like, wait a second, I don't actually know how that works. I thought I did. I imagined how it would work, but I don't actually have the mechanics bolted down yet. That's a gap. We need to fill that. That's how you develop systems. Find the gaps, fill them in with self-referential, intuitive decisions that makes the whole system more self-referential and self-reinforcing. That's good game design. So we're currently debating whether theater should have maintain or not. I could technically bring these things down to 5 and we're still fine. I like having the diversity. But maintain doesn't technically need a lot of diversity. Like, you can have a number of gardens, or you can just dump more resources into your garden so it becomes bigger. You can dump more resources into growing your barracks so it's 2 ranks instead of 1. Okay, just a quick tangent here. I guess I closed Photoshop. Shit, I actually need it. Hold on real quick. Remember, we were talking like a first rank Bastion probably doesn't have more than 10 hirelings. Let's go to the Rebel Belt workbench. Here we go. So if you can have at most 10 hirelings in your Bastion, you could theoretically have a cramped barracks. That's what, 1 person, 2 persons, 3 persons, and then they can have bunks. So you could have like 6 soldiers in this Bastion. Okay, that you could theoretically have maybe 8, less than 10, sure. But I mean, this is just 1 room. It counts as one. It counts as that barracks, that 1 point of resource. If you have 2 points put into barracks, for example, you can now make your barracks roomy. It takes up 16 squares of some sort. But this could also be like, if we're talking about maintaining, that could be a barracks like these 6 squares here could be slabbed off as barracks. And what's another maintain thing that we could have? Gaming hall is listed as maintaining because of wealth. So maybe you have barracks here, and then you have a small gaming hall here that's adjacent to the barracks. So if something goes wrong, you have all these troops in here to start cracking skulls of cheaters. That kind of works. Or you could have them as separate. You could have them as separate buildings in completely different towns. We have a barracks in Waterdeep. And we also have a gaming hall in Waterdeep, Baldur's Keep. There you go. Yeah, Baldur's Keep, whatever. So if you don't have all of your Bastion in one location, you have multiple settlements, you can space out your stuff and then cross-connect them to each other through trade routes. So why not adopt the leadership feat for calculating how many people you can attract and manage in your Bastion? Well, the leadership feat from 3E, because it's too chunky. 3E has a Pathfinder level of granularity that scales per level. The way that we've intentionally built the system is to align with the Bastion system in the DMG as much as possible, which happens to coincide with half casting progression for Rangers, Paladins, and Artificers. 1, 5, 9, 13, 17. So I want to have a 5-tier approach because all the DCs are 5-tier approaches, and this lets you have slop. It's like typically you could have up to 10. You could violate it, but typically you'd have up to 10 hirelings in a first rank Bastion. Second rank Bastion, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, up to 10,000. And then if your Bastion is 5th rank or higher, it could be more than 10,000 with no cap. That's kind of saying like, if you've got like 6,000 people that are in your organization, you are no longer a mom and pop shoe shop. Like you're starting to write, like you're getting up there. You're like Dr. Scholl's, right? Like you're not Adidas, you're not Nike, you're not Reebok. Maybe Dr. Scholl's. That makes sense. So like the scale, like the scale of your operation is also reflected in the number of people that are there. So from a DM side, if I have a military force with 10,000 troops in it, I can easily say, hey, that's a fourth rank army that you're competing against. They're going to be able to crack out die rolls like D20 plus 4 plus D10 when they're trying to take down opposing forces as opposed die rolls. That's how simple combat is. It's very, very easy to wage war between kingdoms without grinding down into 5e action economy. If you want to grind down into 5e action economy at the scale of war, go check out my Spelljammer book to see how fleets and squadron combat works. Because once we get this published, we'll add in the ground troops to be able to have your forces reinforce this stuff. Or maybe we'll just add it to this. Maybe adding this to the Bastion campaign would make sense. Just adding the military stuff. Yeah, we'll do that. I think we'll do that. Decisions are being made. But yeah, the higher rank, the more ranks you have in a facility, the larger that facility can be. So like your shipyard, for example, can be a 6x6 space, just as like the storage space and like where you're actually building materials. And like you'd have like the actual hammerhead ship would be like alongside your facility here. Or once you get the 5th rank, you technically don't have a limit on how big something could be. So you could have a 500-foot massive warehouse, massive workshop that could encapsulate your hammerhead ship, and when it's done, you lift open the lid and it just lifts off and it's gone. So you can play it in a number of different ways, but most shipyards are open dock. So like they have a structure, they have a bunch of docks, that would technically be a settlement. You could then develop a settlement as a dockyard that could, say, cover a 2-mile space. And in that settlement, you have a 5th rank bastion, which is a shipyard facility. So this small settlement, it doesn't have a lot of resources unto itself, but it's capable of accommodating really large bastion facilities. So you put a point. Oh, that's right. Technically, settlements are maintained as well. That's right. Settlements. Fuck. Yes. Settlements. This is. I'm going to put an asterisk. No, I'm going to put an asterisk at the tail end of it because this is one that we invented. It's already down below, and again, it just explains having larger areas of control, like orchards, pastures, mining, like a gold mine. These are all settlement ideas that can use these different orders to like go mine ore. And now, your dwarves dove too deep. They woke up a Balrog. Time to go fight a CR19 demon. Have fun. Oh, it's got 10,000. It has 10,000 goblin army in Moorhold as well. So it's time for you to pull out your favorite axe and get to work. So settlements, that is already a maintain task. We knew that by default. So now we can drop theater from the maintain task. No, library. It was library I wanted to drop from the task. Shit. But now that takes it down to only one thing. Maybe we should just allow library to craft. Do we have anything? Okay, now we have to go back and self-reference ourselves here to see if what's the stuff? Do we have libraries listed in any of this stuff? It would be down in the materials section. It could also be in the magic item section. We could just make a library be able to make scrolls. I guess that makes sense. It's kind of redundant with the scriptorium, but I think I'm okay with that. So let's go library hunting. Because all we have to do is just add library to one of the facilities that can create something. And now we're justified in having that facility take the empower or craft or both. And if that's the circumstance. Looking for a library. Not seeing it amongst the magic items yet. Oh, there it is. Scroll. Library. We already have it here. So officially, library is part of the empowers. So we can go back here. We can add empower to the library. And Bob's our uncle. That resolved. Library. Research. Burp. No. It's empower. Research. I'm getting a little punch drunk. I'm overly excited about... I've excited myself about this thing too much. Yeah, so we got rid of maintain and we picked up empower. We have a settlement, which is maintain. Hold on, double check. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7. We now have 7 things that can do the maintain task. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that means I can trim a maintain task from somebody if I want to. I was iffy about theater. It has the empowerment skill because if you perform at the theater, you gain an inspiration die like a bard that your character can use at some point. Empower. So empower makes sense. I'm going to use my Oracle dice, which is a pair of D6s that I roll. When I don't know the answer to something, I ask the Oracle. You've probably seen stuff about oracles in the past. The way that I do them is I roll 2 6-sided dice. The lower dice, the die that's closer to me, sets the difficulty. I have to then use the other die to equal or exceed the number rolled for the answer to be yes. So if I roll a 1 and a 6, the 1 is you're guaranteed that this is a yes answer because you can't roll below a 1. And then I get a 6, and that says not only was it obvious that that was the answer, it's perfectly that answer. It could not have been any other way because the 6 means absolutely yes, while 1 means despite all odds, it's a yes. Or if you fail the die roll, a 1 is this is the absolute worst way, this is a no. So that's so Oracle dice have a lot of flexibility in them. Like if I roll a 1 on the first die, it's guaranteed to be a yes. If I roll a 6, it's almost impossible that it's a 6. But despite that, if I roll boxcars, not only was it almost impossible, we pulled off the impossible. And for some reason, although it shouldn't be, it is. And then that becomes my thought seed for me as a DM to figure out, well, what is that impossibility and how did they overcome it? That becomes the stuff of legends in your game. So I just rolled a 5 and a 2, which means it's a no because I had to roll a 5 or better, which means it was highly unlikely that the theater, the question was going to be, should maintain be a task for theater? And the answer is no. So the next question then is, instead maybe recruit would make sense because you're gonna have a theater troop. Let's see, is recruit the answer? 6 and 2, the answer is fucking no. So it's not recruiting, it's not maintaining. Is it research? I got a 3 and a 6 that says yes. Why would theater, is that, I asked it to bullshit me and it's bullshitting me. Let's see. I like the idea of recruiting though. It does not like that. Is maintain the best? It's just iffy. It says it maintains the best. It's just shitty. Well, I mean, if a pub can maintain and a gaming house can maintain, then yeah, a theater can maintain. So yeah, that actually makes sense. It's a good source of revenue. Having an operating theater, and there's a lot of adventure hooks inside of this. So that's actually a really good idea. So let's double check that real quick. And okay, let's double check war room. Are these the 2 appropriate orders to be associated with a war room? 5 and 1 says no. Is maintain a stretch? 2 and 4 says yes, maintain is a stretch. But I mean, it qualifies because security. But is there something, recruiting makes sense though, right? 4 on 4, so the 4s are strong with this answer. That means yes, war room is absolutely meant for recruiting. So that's how you get more troops on. It makes it easier for you to get troops on board to work with you if you have an active war room. But for some reason, maintain is not the right answer. Yeah, you need a new category like propaganda, a place where information is disseminated. That could be like a spy network, right? I guess that would make sense as a spy network. Let's include that item. Can we BS a spy a house of misinformation? Can we build one of those inside of here? We don't, for the guild hall, we don't have research, and spy and stuff is generally a research thing. So we have to think about it in the framework that we have of maintaining, recruiting, researching, crafting, empowering, harvesting, and empowerment. So like if we're going to have a misinformation campaign, what order would that fall in, or what kind of a category would that sit inside of? But what's the order that would be associated with it? Because maintaining is security and lifestyle. Research is discovering information you didn't know. Empowering is imbuing things with magic, whether they're characters or magic items. Harvesting is gathering materials from a settlement. Trade is getting materials from a settlement that you don't control. Crafting is making stuff. Would propaganda fall under the crafting category? No, we can't make up new orders. There's only 7 orders in the system. That's a hard line. It's a mechanic that exists inside the Dungeon Master's Guide. There are 7 orders, period. So I can say that propaganda is an aspect of an order, and we have to be able to justify the act of propaganda falls inside of the order of, well, maybe that would be empowerment. That doesn't quite feel right. Craft feels more accurate than anything. Yeah, that would technically be, I think that would be crafting. Printed material. You're fabricating the story, right? Is that a stretch? To fabricate a story? I got a 1 and a 6. So, but I specifically ask, is that stretching? It says, yeah, Phil, you're stretching with that crafting roll. I like the idea of propaganda. A spy network is research. Oh, wait a second. Can we invert things? Is that possible? Instead of researching, can we befuddle research and conceal? Is that a means of research? It likes that. Town hall, research, craft, harvest, trade, maintenance, maintain. Yeah. I think, I think something like that makes sense. Let's go with, oh, wait a second. Wait a second. Guild hall. One of the guilds that you can construct is a thieves guild. A thieves guild would be perfect for creating misinformation campaigns as well as a spy network. So guild hall is the natural facility that you would set up for anti-spy stuff. So yeah, propaganda would be built out of a thieves guild, which is a guild hall activity. So let's look at what tasks a guild hall can produce. I would say, God, I almost want to say that misinformation or befuddling people is like a recruiting idea. Like you're trying to get them on board with your thought process. I could also see it being crafting though. I think as a DM, I would allow either one of those. But yeah, absolutely. A house of deception would be a guild hall for sure. Yeah. So it's not so much. Ooh, yeah, I like that. That can work. Or you could even go with you could potentially go trade as like a blackmail. Like I won't share this information if you give us these things. So then it would be basically an intimidation die roll. And if you succeed at the check, they are intimidated with your with the research roll that you did. The research that you did is deep enough and disturbing enough to your target that they will that they fold because you were able to successfully research what you need to do to break this person. And then just playing that out as propaganda is just the narrative of what it was that you found. So the actual die roll is in discovering and spying on the person. And once you get the information that you need, then you just simply execute it. It's not 2 die rolls. It's just 1 die roll. We did not get enough dirt to be able to successfully blackmail this person. So we need to find another way, because research didn't work. So we have to find something, and that becomes a complication. We now, like, one of the complications you can have with research is that your spies are captured. Like that could very realistically happen. You're trying to create this dirt, and now your guys have gone missing. That works. Well, but that's just the flavor they get. The point is that they gave us a means of using that narrative. We can reskin, like they have a shipbuilders guild here. It doesn't say Spelljammer ships specifically, but we can build Spelljammer ships if we want. The Thieves Guild doesn't specifically say we create, but the CIA is trained in thieving and assassination techniques. The CIA is a government-ran Thieves Guild, isn't it? It just has a badge, so it doesn't have to do any low-handed tactics unless it wants to, or while it's out of our country, it does. That'd be the FBI, but that's sort of the same thing. I think that works. Just because the government runs it doesn't mean the guild is government, like bureaucracy. Like you're thinking of, like, a government is a structure of command. Who's actually issuing the orders? Government officials that were elected or placed in their position of power. And once they're in that position of power, they can issue orders to the facilities they have control over based on the size of that facility, which is the exact Bastion system that we're building. I think that works. Yeah. But it's the same. But it's the same sort of idea. You create dirt. You put horrible files on somebody's computer, and that's how you get them to drop out of being a presidential candidate. Whatever, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think that already really jives, but that also means that the guild hall needs to have research included in it. Maybe guild hall is just like the freaking catch-all of everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's turning out that guild hall is just everything. Craft, empower, harvest, and then research, recruit. Trade isn't on here for some reason. Let's get my order right so I can see it easily. If I have things out of order, I might miss them. Empower, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What am I missing? Craft, harvest, trade, empower, research, recruit. Oh, it's trade. Trade's missing. I think a guild hall can do any of those things. Oh, that's the way to do it. When you choose a garden, for example, you'll choose which of these orders that specific garden tends to. I'm going to make a crafting garden, so I'm specifically creating content like for food, like consumption, or like the material components that I need. But like if I need the material components for, like, say, creating magic potions, then it would be harvesting those materials. And I could use the facility for a food source for my bastion to maintain. So when I spend a point, if I spend a point on garden, I don't get all 3 of these things. I get 1 of these things. And each thing has different... So the guild hall is a catch-all for everything, but you have to spend, like, I would have to... Like, if I want to make Spelljammer ships at 4th rank, I'm going to have 4 ranks of craft, which could include a guild house, but I could also have a guild house for, like we were just talking about, a misinformation, like a spy network. That would make sense. We could also have a trade guild, which is, like, literally in the name. And then recruiting, because who doesn't want to be part of a guild? That's huge support. That's also how you get maintained in there very easily. And then like a plantation is effectively a guild. Crafting, of course, is a crafting guild. That all folds into itself. That makes sense. This is the discovery for the session. And oh man, Francois, I really appreciate you helping me find that. Oh, it's a great place to play. I'm a Magic the Gathering guy, so I tend to think in, like, that's a white-black sort of thing. like CIA spooks, stuff like that. It's they're manipulating the law to do underhanded shit, or they're doing underhanded shit to get your commitment to do something. It has like a real, I don't know if you're an MTG guy, but there's a real white-black balance that goes on inside of there. And then just like raw research, that tends to be blue. But I'm an MTG junkie, so. But yes, Guildhall being all 7, that feels super sweet. So craft, harvest, so that feels good. So that adds to trade, and that added to research. So these are all, harvest is the only one that seems to be behind now. Let's look and see here. Let's look for harvest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, harvest has 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, what about the settlement? We're maintain. Settlements are specifically built for harvesting. So harvest. Bam. Everything has at least 7 options now. That's starting to feel like a good level of diversity. That feels really fucking good. So harvest feels good. I'm going to go ahead and put a check next to that one. Let's see. We went through research. That now feels really good. Maintain feels good. I'm pretty sure Empower and Craft are square. We'll probably want to spend... I'm almost out of time for the day. I'll be back tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow night. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow night for like 3 hours. And Friday, I'll be back for lunchtime as well. So we still have crafting and empowering. I think we just went through... Let's go through trade real quick just to see what's there. See if anything hits us as weird. Teleportation circle for trade. Huge material movement. Teleportation circle is super good. After we do this, we'll start setting in ranks. Like what rank do you need to be able to have these facilities? Like the guild hall. You wouldn't be able to have a guild hall until your 2nd rank because you're not big enough to be on a guild's radar. Like you'd be a member of a guild, but you wouldn't have a guild house. Like you could be in the guild house, but you wouldn't be your own. So, oh, right on. Nice. Let's see. I stopped before MTG Arena came out. Like I want to say it's somewhere around Kaladesh, maybe. I don't remember exactly. I was pretty casual about it, but I love it. I love the flavor. I love the world. I don't play the game a lot, but I'm absolutely steeped in the color theory and how that expresses characters and stuff. And I'm a really big Ravnica and Strixhaven fan. Okay, great. So we're looking at trade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. So let's see if they're good. Does trade make sense with teleportation circle? We just said yes. Stables. Horse trading is literally a term. So yeah, trade for stables makes sense. Harvest for harvesting material, like you have a pig farm. Those would be technically stables. A sanctum. No, that's not. We're looking at trading, not recruit. A pub. Trade for pub is because you're brewing like a pub, like you brew ale beverages, you make food with it, so there's trade value there. Also, you might have to have like wine imported to you and stuff like that. A pub is a natural place for that. Spirits, libations could also be like different smoke products as well. Just like a den, like an opium den would probably be a pub, but they're not going to use the word opium den in Wizards of the Coast. A menagerie, that's creatures. I'm feeling like maybe Empower might creep out of this one, but trade. I mean, you know what? Honestly, menagerie is is like a monster or an exotic form of stables, so I'd say that still makes sense. But less so. But you're not mass producing monsters generally, so harvest wouldn't necessarily be appropriate. I'm not horribly opposed to it though. I could potentially see menagerie being harvest. Let's put an asterisk next to that. That was the menagerie. We're looking for trade. Yeah, harvest might make more sense than trade. I see text. Guild hall, obviously trade guilds. Gaming hall as trade because currency. Gaming hall also represents the stock market, or like futures. Like you can invest points into it to try to get points out of it. Maintain. Oh, I see what you're saying. That makes sense because like protection facilities and stuff. Like you hire a manticore to protect your storehouse. I like that. That makes a lot of sense. I like that a lot. I'm still iffy about harvesting materials from a menagerie, but I mean, if you have a wyvern roost, you could technically harvest wyvern poison from it. So there's a thing. But let's see if there's any other outliers that feel weird. Gaming hall for trade, yeah. Armory, because the armory is listed as trade in the DMG, so we have to keep trade for armory. The way that armory is listed in the DMG, it's that you don't make weapons, you find and gather weapons for use. So you're stockpiling all that stuff. Where's the storehouse? There it is. Yeah, I think let's let harvest hang for menagerie. I want it to work, so fuck it. Let's just say it works. Harvest, maintain, recruit, trade. And maintain. That's what we need to bump. Oh, no, we just bumped that. We already bumped harvest. Okay, cool. And then everything seems to be working for trade. Because you could make armory and stuff and trade it. What about but if that's the way that works, what about the smithy? Then smithy could technically be a bunch of trade as well, couldn't it? Because you can make armor and weapons in an armory. You can make stuff in a smithy. I like them being different though. Otherwise, I mean, armory and a smithy are so ridiculously overlapping. They already both have crafting and power. So this makes an armory different, but more limited on what it can do. So that feels good because you can make less stuff with an armory, but it opens up more trade power for your bastion if you have it, as opposed to a smithy, which can make almost as much shit as a workshop can. So that feels good. Harvest and maintain for laboratory. We're getting to the point where everything on here is generating wealth, so I want to curb that. And harvesting is gathering material. It's laboratories process it. That's the crafting and the empowering. So only crafting and empowering actually make stuff. Harvesting and trade gather stuff. So a laboratory would make things, while a greenhouse can both generate stuff and you can actually produce potions and stuff like that inside. Like greenhouse and laboratory are pretty close, but they're like, the greenhouse is basically doing what I think you're thinking about the laboratory doing. No, you're not creating the chemicals, and you have to you take materials and then you make them into things, into alchemical stuff in a laboratory, but you have to actually get those materials from someplace else. You could get those materials from a greenhouse, because the greenhouse is growing those things. You can also happen to brew potions in the greenhouse, because that's what the DMG says you can do with a greenhouse. The greenhouse doesn't have things. I will eat my hat if I am wrong. So let's if it has harvesting on the laboratory, I will agree with you. Craft orders is making stuff. Alchemical supplies. You commission the facilities hireling to craft. Yeah. So I'm trying to stick with the DMG as much as I can. I understand I could add a harvest there if I want to. But everything that you want you to do with it is covered by craft and power. I just don't see where you're making raw material. Laboratories refine material. That's why you need a lab, to refine it. Greenhouses can make stuff. Gardens can make stuff. That feels different. I'm fighting you on that, but it feels right. That's a decent argument. Yeah, I like that. And it fills in the gap a little bit more. I like that. Hell yeah, change approved. Well done, man. There. This is feeling really fucking good. Okay, I gotta go. My time is over. I'm going to be back tomorrow night in about 20. I'll be back in 27 hours. So, first of all, man, thanks for hanging out. And Domo, thanks for catching up with me, guy. Anyone else that's out there in the void, like, subscribe, catch me on the Discord, check out my stuff. Catch you guys later.